Hello again, everyone. My name is David Bastel, alongside REA President David Oikel, and this is the Real Estate Edition podcast. David, on this episode, we talk to Mark McLean. He's the Vice President of Business Development at Key Living. David, what were some of your takeaways from this interview?
It's really interesting to see what the evolution of real estate ownership is, and it's just interesting to see what the possibilities might be, the middle ground between owning and renting. And I think that Mark brought a lot of interesting ideas to us, and so a really thought-provoking conversation we had.
Plus, we ask him how realtors can get involved in Key Living. Now, here's our interview with Mark McLean.
You're listening to this month's episode of The Real Estate Edition with host Dave Bastel and REA President David Oikel.
Mark, great to talk to you. Can you tell our listeners about yourself and how you came to be involved with Key Living?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dave. I am a 30-year real estate veteran in Toronto. I was the president of the Toronto Real Estate Board. I was also a director with David at REA. I've been involved with starting a number of companies. You would know Sotheby's International Realty here in Ontario, which I started. I was on the management team at Bosley for a number of years, and I was the president of Property.ca in Toronto, an online brokerage. I've been always sort of drawn to the digital kind of space. But when I was president, one of the things that I used to talk a lot about. Well, number one was always use a realtor, because that's a great start. But number two was just the value and the importance of owning a house. What we know about the fact that it's not just for savings, but people who own are healthier, they're happier, their kids get better educated. There's so many ancillary benefits from that. And invariably, I would be asked, well, what happens if I want to live in Toronto, but I can't afford it? And I would say, well, you get in your car and you drive until you qualify. Meaning you drive outside the city until your money will actually buy you something. And I wish I could take that back, because quite frankly, no one deserves to have to commute, an hour and a half every day in their car or on transit just for the privilege of owning. And so when I met the guys, the two founders of Key, I was like, holy cow, they're going to change how we live in the city. This is so important, for me as a realtor, but also someone who really believes in Toronto and our city, and I want to see it succeed. And I'm concerned about how my kids are going to actually get into the homeownership realm. So when the opportunity came to come and join Key, I'm employee number 2. I've been there right from the beginning. It was super exciting, and there is that kind of aspect of it, which is I'm actually doing something that's going to make a huge difference, and that to me, and not just in Toronto, but I hope nationally and even potentially, globally. So I'm super happy to be a part of that.
So Mark, that's a great start. So for the listeners who aren't familiar with Key Living, maybe you can start with an explanation of what it's all about and how it operates.
So I guess the best place to start here, David, is the fact that if you want to live in Toronto, you have two choices. You buy, and if you can't buy, you rent. And our premise is, well, what if there was a third option? What if there was a way we could actually help people get into the market for way less and feel like they have all the benefits of owning with the freedoms of renting? And that's what Key is. So what we've done is we've actually created a co-equity or co-ownership model, which would, I guess, fall under that category of alternative home ownership solutions, right? And right now across the globe, there's billions of dollars being thrown at this problem, right? Because so many people are being locked out of home ownership. And so what we do as a company is we go out and we raise long-term capital from pension funds, wealth sovereign funds, endowment funds, insurance companies, any institution that wants to park their money for a long time. And real estate has been a good place for that. We combine it with a little bit of debt. We buy condos in the downtown core. And then what we do is we offer you the opportunity to buy one of those condos and get in as a co-owner with us. And so what that means is I can now buy a $600,000 condo for $15,000, 2.5%. That's my entry point. And what I pay on a monthly basis is essentially geared to market rent, but it's slightly reduced because you do have that ownership position. And what we've actually patented is this ability to add more equity at your own pace, if you so choose to. And two things happen. Number one is you're buying more of the condo that you're in and reducing our ownership. But the other thing that you're doing is lowering your monthly payment, because those things are connected. And so for the very first time, you now have an opportunity to get way more people into that ownership position. And the best example I could give you is, if you were to buy a $600,000 condo in Toronto, and assuming that you could get a mortgage, that's number one, and assuming that you could get insurance through CMHC to get a higher, a smaller down payment, you would still need $50,000 minimum to buy that condo. And you'd have to have a combined household income of around $125,000. And so with our model, that down payment is $15,000 and the household income is $70,000. So you can all of a sudden see how our model will open up, a massive number of people who will be able to now get into the market and start owning right away. And so that condo that they choose is theirs for life. And that money that they pay on a monthly basis goes towards the maintenance fees and the taxes. And we pay back, obviously, some of that long-term capital. And we also put $50 a month into their equity account. So even if the market stayed flat, they're also benefiting by, $600 a year. So the idea really here is to give people an option to get into the market and get their 15,000 and stay in the model until their 15,000 maybe goes to 40 or 50 or 60,000, where they can now exit and go buy in the traditional manner. Because at the end of the day, and I say this to realtors all the time, if you have a client that can afford to buy and has a down payment and has the closing costs, has got a good job and good credit and is going to be in their condo or house for a long time, you should 100% sell them something. But if their only other option is to rent, then all of a sudden, Key is a great model. We're not trying to disrupt home ownership. We're trying to disrupt rental and give people a leg up and help them get established in the housing market years earlier, really 20 years earlier.
Yeah. Okay. So Mark, you touched on a lot of the question that I'm about to ask you, but I'll kind of rephrase it a little bit just to see if we can get more out of it too. So what are some of the main differences between the Key living model and the traditional methods of mortgaging or renting a house then that you kind of didn't tackle with that last answer?
Well, I think the biggest thing is because we're going out and buying the unit, the condo with cash, there is no mortgage.
Right.
And, mortgages is probably one of the biggest stressors that, first-time buyers have to go through, right? And, the interesting thing is that, we're seeing probably one of the smallest cohorts of people, millennials, being able to buy houses. It's drastically low. And so, and what about